All right, let's go to Greg Wyshynski on the phone and talk some pucks. How about that?
Sure.
All right, Greg is the editor of the Puck Daddy site at yahoo.com. Greg, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. Wyshynski.
Perfect. I mean, flawless. Better than 99% of the telemarketers.
Would you tell me if I was wrong?
I would probably tell you if I was wrong. I have no problems. I also have no problems knowing that my Ukrainian last name is a blessing and a curse. Memorable but difficult.
Greg, you're talking to two guys who grew up in Chicago here, so we have followed the Blackhawks through the years. We're enjoying this run they've had with two Stanley Cups and possibly another one coming. But with the series tied 2-2, two of the last three games are in Tampa. They have home ice advantage. How do you see this thing playing out?
First, let me say this about Chicago. It is hockey insane. I mean, when the local buses that are like 100 blocks away from the arena have Go Hawks on their digital readouts all around town, I've never seen a town that massive and that all locked into one team in one series. And it's come a long way from not being able to watch the home games on television. I'll tell you that. But, the series is real back and forth, and I think the Blackhawks saw some good signs last night. They still say they played their worst game of the series last night, but the bottom line is that 5 out of the top 6 forwards all hit the score sheet last night, which is what they've been waiting to see. And it's a team that traditionally plays the best when its backs are against the wall, and now they've evened the series, and it's best 2 of 3.
Yeah, they finally got a goal out of one of their top players in Taves. I mean, that's got to be a good sign, right? Because they've been riding the shoulders of some of the lesser players.
They have, yeah, and you could see last night Taves was flying, Patrick Sharp was flying. All the guys that have been in this situation before. Because remember, they've done this rally thing before. They rallied against Ducks in the previous round. They rallied against Boston to win the Cup that one year. To a man, they've all said that, the 2-1 series deficit is not a thing to worry about, even though there's a trend historically that the team that wins Game 3 in a series tied 1-1 and they win it on the road is 13-0 as far as winning the Cup. So there's a big trend in the Lightning's favor. But that veteran presence and having guys that have done it before and have done it together really, I think, came through last night in a game that they had to have. I mean, I couldn't conceive of them having to win 4 in a row against Tampa. So that win was a series-saving one last night.
A lot of people will say about Joe Quenneville that he is a guy who inherited a lot of talent with the Chicago Blackhawks. He wasn't able to get the Avalanche deep in the playoffs. I think he did it one time with the St. Louis Blues. But when you look at what Quenneville did in the Western Conference Finals with putting Taves and Kane on the same line, what was it, Game 4 he did that? Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Okay. Was that the difference in what the Blackhawks are doing right now? And if Quenneville doesn't make that switch, we're not talking about the Blackhawks in the playoffs right now?
Well, I think it speaks to a larger thing that he does. Because, I mean, he's already broken them up again. But it doesn't mean we won't see them again at some point in the series, is that he is unafraid to ever tinker. I mean, he is a guy, at one point, I think in Game 3, Patrick Kane and Brad Richards probably had at least 5 different wingers on their line, just trying to find the right click. And then in Game 4, Brad Richards wasn't even skating with Kane anymore. So Quenneville is an aggressive guy. He's a guy who's willing to experiment and see what works and what doesn't, and not stick with something too long if it's not working. And in this series, I think what's been really impressive about him and his coaching job has been the fact that this team defensively is relying on 4 guys primarily. The depth defensemen that they have in the 5 and 6 slots have been terrible. So, he's been having to overplay these guys, and yet at the same time has gotten the team in front of them to play really well defensively too, to cover up for some mistakes from the lower line players. So Mike Babcock just got $50 million from the Toronto Maple Leafs to coach there for 8 years. If Joel Quenneville wins the 3rd Cup in 6 years, what is he worth?
Our guest is Greg Wyshynski. He is the editor of Puck Daddy. You can find that at yahoo.com, Yahoo Sports. This segment sponsored by the Lake Street Tavern. 3 bars under one roof. They've got 18,000 square feet, and you can watch the Stanley Cup Finals on one of their 60 HD TVs. They're located at 23rd and Blake.